Good afternoon, people. Or I should say good evening. Good evening, people. Let me make that window a little bigger. Good evening. Good evening. Yes, this is Spirit Journey. Hello, hello, hello. This is Spirit Journey, and today is Thursday, August 28th, 2025. And what time is it? Oh, let me see what time it is. Sorry. 7:28 p.m. Yes, I'm just lying here in bed and you see out my window. Yes, I miss doing things like this. Back in New York, where I'm from, I did tons of video at when it was dark outside, and I showed the skyline. It was very beautiful, the lights. And with this window, I get to see beautiful greenery. I love greenery. Yes, all is well today. I stayed home today and just relaxed. I was busy yesterday. So sometimes when I have to go out and do things, I get kind of tired. Yeah, Lavender had a little doctor's appointment and his blood is improving. And so I'm very happy about that. And to celebrate those good reports, we went to a restaurant and we had some wonderful food. It was very, very good. And then we came home and I was tired. Yeah, sometimes you just have to listen to your body. Yes, hello, viewer. Good evening to you. Yes. So all is well to you today. I just took it easy. And your Lavi boy, he's right there. You can hardly see him, but he's lying down next to me in bed. And so I'm going to talk about some interesting topic. And my title is a little provocative. Any black people or Africans, have you been, experiencing some things or been in programs, mental programs, and you ever wonder why some of us hurt? And that's basically what I was asking. And I just felt led to do this video, this live video. And I really hope that people reach out, write their comments below. I believe that this year, this is the age of exposing, the age of saying enough is enough, and to take power back, to take back your power. I am led to do this. Well, I was led to these videos. I noticed now, it started last week, and these videos I was being recommended by, to on YouTube. And they're Black Americans primarily, and some blacks living in Europe, in Britain in particular. And people have been getting, sharing their OBEs, out of body experiences, and sharing their stories. And I thought it was really neat. And I said, wow, boy, I would have liked to have known about these people years ago. And, but hey, there's a time and season for everything. And sometimes things are revealed when you're ready to see them. So it's really interesting that just about a week ago, these videos I was being recommended to, and they're sharing their stories. And I think it's about time that the Black community, the African community, share their experiences, because it wasn't popular for us to talk about certain subjects. And it was maybe 8 or 9, let's see, 28 2018, February 2018, that I interviewed this person who alleged that they were part of the secret space slash super soldier slash 20 years and back program. And I did that too because I was curious about the program. I was in the military, and I I wanted to explore to find out for myself what's going on. And I asked questions about myself and my stay in the military. I wasn't in long, but I did serve proudly. And so now I'm also being introduced today about what's called the GATE program, GATE, GATE. And it stands for the Gifted and Talented something, about so-called smart kids. So they target you when you're like an elementary school, kindergarten, something like that. And the pretense is that what they give, like in America, where I'm from, in America, they give out these standardized tests, and they want to see your IQ. And it's always something, it seems like. It's not about for the benefit of the child, to better the child's chances of getting a job when they become an adult. It's all about science and for people who are benefiting from all this stuff. Excuse me, my leg. Sorry. So what's going on, you know? So yeah, I was referred to this video today about people. They're now adults, but there's a lot of people now. There was this individual who claims to be in the Montauk Super Soldier program, things like that. And he shared the video on the GATE program. And it was a series of different video clips of people who posted on social media their experiences. And I then did like a search on YouTube for the GATE program, and I watched maybe 3 of them, and I found it very interesting. So so I want to talk a little bit about that, and if any of you have also ever been in the military, so I hope maybe to express and put my ideas together for this. Again, my doing this is to to share and to make other members of the Black and African communities out there worldwide, for us to share our experiences. Things are being done, and see, a secret is no longer a secret if everybody knows. And it's about empowerment and to give you the right to say no. If you don't want to be a part of something, you have a right to say no, and just tell them about what we call the Nuremberg codes. See, the Nuremberg codes says that you are not allowed to force people in experiments without clearly telling them what's to be done, the dangers of it, and you're entitled to know the outcome of these experiments. But you have to have consent. You have to consent it. They're not allowed to do anything against you without your permission. And if if you are forced to do be experimented on, chemicals or drugs, whatever, you have a right to say no. You also have the right to not be observed by scientists. It is your right. And if they violate that, and if you are charged as violating that law, the Nuremberg codes, it is even punishable by DEATH. Oh, yes, people. Oh, yes. And I think people have a right to say no and to, find out, hey, what's going on? Do you have secrets or things in your life that you don't understand why you've experienced certain things? So that's what this is all about. Sharing and, telling, and so that you can ask yourself these questions and your loved ones, you know? And see, if people start speaking out and saying no, and that you go maybe to the authorities, the newspapers, people who have secrets, want to do secrets and stuff like that against you, they don't want to be found out. So they move on. You don't want them to bother you. So, this gifted program, yeah, growing up, some of the videos I was watching, but I was thinking back in the school I went to in Queens, New York. Yeah, they had this program, the Gifted Children, and there was some other name that they used. But basically is to find out what kids have certain aptitudes. And they kept them, at least in that school, separate from everybody else. But initially, the class that I was in, the first and second grade, I think it was, many of the members of that class, I remember, were later assigned to those gifted programs, which I thought was interesting. But I had gotten access to my records, and I thought it was very telling. In the first grade of this particular school that I went to in Queens, it was a black school, predominantly black. It was a black school, and it had people from, the black from the South type of people, and blacks from the West Indies. That's primarily what the school was in the black neighborhood, and yeah, if for any of you Americans out there, you have a right to get a copy of your school records through FOIA, Freedom of Information. I think Freedom of Information Act, FOIA requests. You write your name, address, probably your social security number, and the years you attended school, and send it to your Board of Ed people. And if you're a lady and you've changed your name, you got married and changed your name, and then you indicate what that other name is, and if you have to show proof that, it was changed, and submit it with the document, requesting copies of your record. Your school records are yours, and you have a right to them, to know what they wrote about you. And it's your right to request. Hey, write down if you ever had an IQ test taken, or so in a special program, etc. You have a right to know, and have a right to know what the outcome of those tests were. And if you can get the names of the people, you want to try to put the dots together. Who are these people who tested on you? Did they work for the government? Which branch of government? It is your right to know. So either way, when I got my request in the mail, I saw that in the first grade that I was absent almost 50%. I'm saying the number 50. It's a little less than 50%. That's a lot. That means every month I was out, let's say 2 weeks out of the month, almost 2 weeks out of the month, equivalent. And I was a healthy child, very healthy. Wow, what's coming to my mind right now? If, you know, why was I absent? Where was I? Where was I brought to? I don't know. But it just came to my mind just a moment ago. Um, maybe the school, maybe they didn't contact the school and I was brought somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just trying to put the dots together. But I remember being in the first grade where this, when I got my, latter, later got, that I was out almost half the time in the first grade. Um, Again, I was always a healthy child. Um, but I remember one day I was in the classroom and I didn't know what anything was. Yeah, prior to this school, I was in another school for one semester. Yeah. Um, and then they brought me to the other school that I was out almost half the time. Um, Everything seemed normal. At least I felt okay with that other school. But when I was transferred to the neighborhood black school, yeah, see why I say it like that, because the other school was a predominantly white school. Because back in the late 1960s, they had a thing called busing. It was about taking black kids primarily and put them into white schools because of equality, that equal access. And I think now it was about traumatizing these black kids to be around people who hated them and were afraid of us. And it's just to mess with our minds and to um, divide the black community. In my opinion, I believe that. So, so I was brought back, brought to the neighborhood school. But when I came here, I just felt I didn't know what anything was. I felt like a fish out of water for a strange reason. But getting copies of my school records and noting that in that school in Queens, near where I lived, that I was out almost half the time. I'm surprised that they didn't put me back. Why didn't they put me back? I don't know if anybody else went through this. I mean, whether they were out too. I did research that that same year there were school. What do you call it? The there was a teachers' strike in Brooklyn, but I lived in Queens. But most likely, if one district is boycotting, it'll be all the teachers. So why would that? Let's say it was because of that. Then why would it indicate that I was absent rather than school closing? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense out of things. But so that people that would make a lot of sense if I'm in the classroom and I don't know what anything is because I wasn't taught. And I also remember all the students were seated at desks facing the blackboard, and the teacher was, I think they had some of the kids read out loud, and I was seated at a table, a round table, behind everybody by myself. And they allowed me to read these books, puzzles, but I was the only one. I remember that. And then I remember they had this guy, this crazy guy with emotional problems, and he had threatened me before. Yeah, I was very fearful. Yeah. And So I remember that. And so I asked myself, what happened and where was I? Where was I brought to? I asked some family members, and they don't have any inclination, indication, excuse me, of my being sick or at home. And I don't know whether they were out also. So I had said, hey, get a copy of your school records for that, your school records, and let's compare if you were also out almost half the time that particular year. Because, see, if it was about, excuse me, if it was all about the school um, boycott, not boycott, teacher strike, then everybody would indicate the same thing. Okay, so that was a big point, and I did share that information before. So any of you who are listening to this live stream, have you gone to a school in America or in Africa and unexplained absences in your elementary school years? And one day you just in classroom, you don't know how why you're there, why you're separate from the other students. You're allowed to just play by yourself while the other kids are getting an education. Has this happened to you? Has this? Ask yourself those questions. Someone had shared me a story, and it's confirmed with this GATE program, the gifted students. See, in America, and I'm wondering whether Africa has the same thing with their students going to public school or even private school. Are you being singled out to do these IQ exams, whatever what you want to call it, these weird exams, and you're selected because of your grades that you get? Well, some of the people who have been posting videos on the GATE program, the gifted and talented something, they had to take a test. And if you scored on the top percentile of this exam, the 98th and 99th percentile, top percentile, you were often interviewed, and they may ask you to be a part of a program. Oh, you're so intelligent. Oh, would you want to be, would you want to go away and faraway place, and there's a special thing for you to be a part of? But you don't have to ask your parents. We'll talk to them privately about that. Give us an answer, and it's like they're trying to pressure you. Someone had told me something like that happened to them, which I thought was very interesting. And when they responded that they have to think about it and ask their parents, they didn't want that. And then they wind up using somebody else who did not have both parents at home. So it's important. So why I'm mentioning that is that, yeah, you might be uh, initially selected, because of your high test score. This is like I guess, an IQ test, and but they don't want too many questions. They want you to be passive and just say yes. So they're illegally trying to force your kids in a verbal contract, because kids like to feel like they're special, whatever. Yeah, I want to go to this program. Okay, yeah, and they could be a part of a what do you call it, the Montauk program that people have been talking about online. Montauk is they did these weird experiences experiments on people. They may have given them substances that harm their mind, deprivations, uh, ESP testing, just a lot of bizarre things. And it traumatized a lot of these people. So, so again, you have people who, you know, who are selected based on these programs and are experimented on. You have little children without their understanding and without telling their parent, without the parents being notified. They're doing things, it seems as though, what was being shared on YouTube and other social media, that children are being selected in these programs without their parents' consent and are being tested on. They're given these, you remember this? And I was given these little pills. They're these like a fuchsia color pills, and and you chew them and you swish it around in your mouth, and you're supposed to spit it out, and it dyes your teeth or something to see if you have plaque. But it turns out like these, like the pretense is that, oh, for oral health. But these are chemicals. And what are those chemicals really for, you know? But I remember at one time in the early 70s, I had to, they gave us it. You know, why take those it has a lot of sugar in it, and sugar feeds plaque. So why are you giving them this dye? And what is it cancerous? What is it for? Are there fluoride tablets? Fluoride, and it's colored that reddish fuchsia color, and put sugar, so you want to eat it. And it's that to dumb you down. Where are you giving those red pills? Let me know down below if you had to take these red pills, whether you're from Black America or from Africa somewhere. I just want to see what's happening other parts of the world. And it's about exposing and sharing different experiences and finding out, has it been happening to you? Yeah, I'm learning. There's people there talking about this. I was all of a sudden given these recommended videos about what's called the GATE program for the gifted and talented kids in America. I'm wondering whether the blacks in America and, let's say, blacks in Africa who may go to certain schools, are you being tested? So I just think it's quite telling. And it seems like these testing, and when you take these IQ tests, how does it benefit the child? And why would you make an agreement with a minor? Oh, we could take you in a program, or special, as far away, and oh, but you don't talk to your parents. So it's quite telling, people. Yeah, get copies of your school records. Start examining it. Let's see what else. And those of you who have been in the military, have any of you ever been in the military? You're a normal person. You don't do drugs or anything like that. You're not a drunkard or anything. You don't abuse any chemicals in your body. And then there, have they given you substances or injections? Were you part of any program in the military, whether it be the Navy? I was in the Navy. And there was an experience. Everything was good. And then all of a sudden, now back then I was into reading the Bible. Then I was getting an aversion reading the Bible. And then it was for like a period of 1 week, this anxiety I was getting, and then I was getting nightmares. And there's one particular nightmare that I had. See, this is what I want to find out, and whether any of you had a similar type of nightmare or anxieties for out of the blue for a 1 week period during my time in the military, in the Navy in particular, U.S. Navy. I'm wondering, any of you have experienced this? I kept it to myself, basically, but I did ask someone. I spoke to someone once. Yeah, I had this nightmare. This was in 1998. 1998, this happened to me. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. 1988. I said 98. 1988. 88. I was in my bunk bed, and then I eventually fell asleep and I had the nightmare. And what the nightmare was, it was like an archetype person. And to me, the person represented evil. This also was the same year that the movie with, what's her name? The girl from the Cosby Show, uh, the 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 one that went to college. I forget her name. Lisa Bonet, that character, that actress. She was in this movie that same year, and they had an archetype in that movie with Lisa Bonet, and it featured like living in Louisiana, and they had this white man. He was wearing all black, a black suit, black jacket. I'm not sure whether he could have had a white shirt on, I think a tie. He had a goatee, your mustache, goatee, very black hair, very full hair, very black hair, very, very white skin. I think he had dark eyes. And he's looking at me. And it seemed very real like. It seemed real. And he held up his fist up in the air at me. And so I thought, someone have a clenched fist raised up that he was going to punch me. And his hand was very tight, clenched very tightly. And so I said, again, back then I used to be a Christian. I didn't know what else to say. I was filled with fear. And I said something to the effect, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. And I think I said it twice. And then I noticed that he had fear in him. I saw fear in his eyes. And he slowly, I think he was lowering his clenched fist. And I think, stepped back a little bit in fear. And then I woke up. Wow. And then I did talk to a supervisor, a Christian lady, and I said I was confused about something, spiritually about regarding the Bible. And she just said, well, if you weren't confused before, but you're confused now, God is not a God of confusion. And that's all I needed to hear. And I never had a symptom after that. And I was then able to resume reading my Bible and all that. It was a very weird experience. I'm not sure if at that time when I had that dream, whether I don't think I've seen yet that movie with that actress that I just mentioned, Lisa Bonet, about Louisiana. Louisiana has a lot of voodoo things that happened there, a lot of spirituality. And yeah, because that year that movie came out, and one of the characters was dressed like that. It wasn't the same person. And I did not know who the guy was, but it seemed very dimensional, that dream. It had a lot of depth to it. Like maybe I was in another realm, and it psychically was connecting to me, and it was very frightening at the time. And I'm reminded now, many years later, that I was told that when we like what's called astral projection, when your energy, it's like your spirit body is able to lift out of your physical body and you're able to travel. And then some people are able to mentally move, mentally travel and explore your environment. That this speaker, researcher was saying that, your spirit, your soul can't be, it can't be killed. Excuse me, I'm not supposed to say that word. It can't be unalive. Your soul is eternal, and that they may try to make you think that you can be hurt, but they can't hurt your soul. Something to that effect. And I was greatly comforted. See, that being with the goatee, he was just trying to scare me. See, a lot of people are controlled by fear, and he was trying to fear me. And the only thing I knew at that time, I was in my mid 20s, is to call out the name of, your helper. And because there's certain laws, so my understanding about it is that, okay, that person may not be of that religion, Christian religion, but they know about spiritual laws. And if you believe that this Jesus, whatever, could protect you, then in that spirit realm, it can. It's what you believe. So if you believe spiritually that a particular person can hurt you, then they can hurt you because you make it so. So, but when you stand your ground and have faith in yourself and courage, it seems like they're afraid of that. I felt I needed to say that because people might be getting attacked in their sleep and making them feel like victims. But that YouTuber that I just heard about said that the power is yours. They cannot unalive something that is eternal, and that they use fear to control people on the other side, and you have the authority to say, get away, move. And I thought that was very telling and very encouraging, because if just don't give away your power to anybody. One thing, they take it from you with force, but hey, don't hand it over to them. Don't hand over your power. Don't do it. So I just felt I needed to say that, because anyone who's being on a spiritual attack, you say, get out of here. I am a power. I have a force within me, which is eternal, and I'm protected by the Creator. Just start saying that, you know? So this was a dream that I had in the military, and I didn't understand why I was having it. But I think in hindsight, what happened, there was what I would call a crack in the door, that I was introduced to someone's words, and it was in contrast to what I was being uh, taught religiously. I was new in religion, and I was curious, and that's all it needed spiritually. And you know, they do ask in the military when you going to enlist, they ask you what your religion is. And when I was first approached, and when I was being trying to be recruited in the military some years earlier, before I actually moved in, it was some years earlier, I was being recruited. And I said no at the time. But they ask you your religion. And I said, well, what if you don't have a religion? Well, you got to put something down. I said, well, I'm not any of these things. Okay, I think I might have said I was an atheist. Oh, you can't be an atheist. You can't be why they're so hung up about what your religion is. And I'm wondering what the real issue is about ownership. This is very important, people. And I think please get this information out. Please share this. Um, what I theorize or speculate based on what happened to me when I was being psychically attacked in my sleep, when I try to read the Bible, and then when I fell asleep, all that, and that I was tempted to change my paradigm thinking, my beliefs, and it just needed a crack in the door so that it could take over me. So, and I say that it's something evil that wanted to take over. They want you to select. Because, see, when you join in the military, anything could happen to you. That even though I was not in the military at wartime, but again, anything could happen to you while you're serving in the military. And so when you profess a particular religion, then it's ownership. You're saying that that institution owns you. Because when if you become unalived, you're entitled to have a burial, and they put symbols on your tombstone. You get a cross if you're Christian, you get a star if you're Jewish, and I guess Islam is the crescent moon or something like that, or whatever. And I think that it's about ownership. That who is going to, I believe now that when we transition from this life, that our soul is being taken by those who we had professed when we are alive, what religion. And I believe they're taking tolls of who has what label. And so if something happens to you, who's going to claim your soul? That's what I believe, that in some instances, what could be done. Why are you forcing someone to choose a religion if they don't believe in a religion? If you're gone, you're gone. Whether you put a cross, a star, whatever, symbol on the tombstone. Once you're gone, right? But maybe there's something else behind it. They can get tabs on your soul. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, it was something that had happened. Again, it was just a 1 week time. It didn't, at the time, it was just spooky, it didn't make sense. And I'm glad I did talk to that supervisor, and I never had that again in the military. I think it was a spiritual attack. And then I'm reminded about something else. Oh, what was that now? What was that? Oh, I'm trying to remember. It'll come to me. It'll come to me, people. Oh, I remember. Also, what happened to me, this was a 1 day event that happened. I may have gone to sleep a little early. I know I had dinner, and then, if you don't have a watch or something, a duty to do that evening, hey, you could go to bed early. And I love my sleep. And one day I woke up, but I woke up feeling disoriented. I don't smoke or drink or anything to drive. I do not do any of that. But I woke up disoriented because I couldn't tell whether I was sleeping or awake. And I was panicking. And I remember I got out of my bunk bed, and there were these two ladies, black ladies. They were nice people. And I walked up to them and I said, I don't know whether I'm asleep or awake. And I started crying a little. I said, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know whether I'm awake. Am I awake? Is yes, yes, you're awake, you're awake. Okay, I said, okay. And then I went back to bed. And that was it. It never happened again. But I asked myself, what happened there? And I'm wondering whether they were, I lived on a ship at that time. And I was wondering now, as many years later, what was really behind that? Were they doing psychic experiments on us? Because in the military, they do give us injections in boot camp. I do not recall ever having to do anything else after boot camp. Not that I could recall. I don't think anything I was given. But why did this happen? And some elderly people, when they go to sleep and they wake up, and they can wake up the same way, and they don't have a sense of who they are, where they are. They get totally disoriented. And so I'm thinking that's, with them, the elderly, that the veil is thin, and they're seeing the other realm, and they're seeing now more of the new realm they're going to probably experience, and the old realm is getting thinner, and the new reality is coming ahead. So once they're finished with this dimension life, they're going to be in another, and I think that's what's happening. But with me, I was again in my 20s. So what was happening? What was this all about? Have you, Black America, or even Africans, if you served in the military or some type of organization, have you ever woke up disoriented and not know where? Again, you don't do drugs or anything like that. You're not into partying, whatever. I did go to bed a little earlier that day probably, and then woke up, and I didn't have any sense of time I mean, I knew who I was, but I didn't know whether I was awake or asleep. I said, how could something like that happen? How? Yeah. So, what's going on? Are they doing experiments with people in the military? Are certain people being targeted in the military? Please let me know if you ever had those symptoms before. You know, yeah, because I had a very simple life in the military. Um, it didn't make sense. And luckily, it was just a one-day event that evening when I woke up, and it never happened again. But the only thing that did happen again, many, many years later, over 30 years later, I was still a Christian, but I was borderline between giving it up. Because I remember I had a cell phone, and I was getting an app on the phone for because I was thinking about learning the Spanish language. I said, hey, maybe I can learn the language through reading a Spanish Bible. So I was getting it to teach myself it. Yeah, I remember that. So, yeah, that could have been around the 2015, 16. Not sure. But I gave up religion. I did. I officially gave up Christianity. I don't belong to any organized religion, but I do believe in spirituality and all that. Um, also, when before I completely removed myself from religion, I remember reading the Bible. I have my Bible in the bed, and I started reading, things I've read many times. And the same symptom happened. I was getting these anxieties in me, like fear or anxiety. As I was reading, I said, why is this? Why am I feeling this way? I've read this tons of time. Why is it? I felt triggered. I felt triggered. Have any of you ever felt triggered reading scriptures? And scriptures that you've read hundreds and hundreds of times over again, but all of a sudden now you're getting triggered. Could this be something that was being done to you? Are you being what they call targeted? Could they be looking? I know this sounds so bizarre, but could they be looking through your eyes, so to speak, and see that you're reading your Bible, and they don't want you to read your Bible? Could this be something that could be happening? Again, these are just thoughts. It could be nothing, but you got to ask yourself, what's happening? Why is certain things happening to you? What is the significance of targeting people while they read the Bible? Why? I'm also reminded, um, have any of you like you're minding your own business, and then something, yeah, I had talked about this before. Um, I'm going to talk about something else right now. Um, have you ever been sleeping and then you wake up and you have problems with your ears? Like for years I had this problem in it's usually the left ear. And it's hard to describe this sensation, but it almost feels like you have water in your ear. And Alan just joining from Kenya. Hey, hello, Kenya. Hello, hello. Yes. Yes, I'm just sharing different things. And yes, here in Africa too. Yes, I'm just sharing certain things I've been hearing. And whether you're from Kenya, whether you're from Algeria, whether you're from South Africa, whether you're from Nigeria, Benin, um, Tanzania, any place in Africa, or any place, let's say in America, if you're a black person from America, have you experienced certain things? Certain things that are affecting the way you think, whether how you act. And a plane is coming. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay, yeah. So the planes are flying by. But yes, have you ever slept before? And then you wake up. Back up a little bit. Um, have you ever had problems with your ears? And you've been to ear doctors, and your ears are perfect. They test your hearing, and everything's perfect. But you get this sensation in your ear. You feel as if water or something's in your ear, and when you breathe in and out, you hear as if your breathing is in your ear, almost maybe like a air is being forced in and out of your ear. And it almost sounds like you have like if you go to the beach and you put a shell against your ear, it almost like the sound of the ocean. something like that. And if you ever had weird sound coming or sensations coming from your left ear in particular, I've been hearing that in the left ear is where oftentimes these possible implants are being put in your ear. Um, just some, these are just things that could happen. Some people have mentioned that they may have something like that, a foreign object in their ear, and it's interfering. Have any of you ever had these sensations in your ear? And then have you ever like gone to sleep and then you wake up all of a sudden and you hear what sounds like Morse code coming from your ear, like in the military, they use dots and dashes. It's an alphabet that utilizes dots and dashes in the military, you know? And have you ever woke up and you hear this racing of dots and dashes coming out from your ear? The problem, the ear that has all the problems. Have any of you? I share these things because, see, I want to find out and want the people, members of the Black community or Africa, to start sharing their experiences. Or if you have kids going to these new schools, are they asking your kids to be alone with people in a classroom? They pull you out of class and they have you alone with somebody, and they want you to do these weird tests, to read weird literature. Are they asking your kid to be in the gifted and talented class? Are they asked to take these special tests, I guess, to check your intelligence level? Are they asking you to like they show you these cards that have these symbols on it, and then they want you to like to test for ESP, extra sensory perception, to see if you're able to know what card is going to be selected? Things like that. They're testing your children certain tests, and some of them are remembering that they took these weird tests, or they came across like a notebook of theirs from back in the day of these weird questions and testing that they had to do. Yeah, they were testing about your ESP, developing ESP, something with underwater stuff. Be very careful of, communicate with your kids. It's very, very, excuse me, it's very, very important if they take your children out of classroom, be very communicative with your children. You have little children in elementary school. Communicate with your kids and let them know that you are not to eat any weird stuff or weird chemicals. Something they want these kids to swallow these pills or those red tablets for that they claim is for your teeth. Don't have them take it. Don't have them go in any class, alone in a room with some person that they don't know to do any weird examination. Forbid it. Tell those kids, because some of them want the kids to make contract agreements. They try to flatter the kid. Make sure you communicate with the kids and have the kids tell you everything. Tell you everything, have a good rapport with your child. And so they might try to trick the child and say, "Oh, well, your parents said it's okay." I said, "Well, that's okay. I'll just wait, or I'll bring my parents in, and you could, you know, talk to them directly." Yeah, teach your kids to, hey, to say no. Taking certain exams, you say, "No, I don't want to take this. I'm not going to eat that." You don't have to. Have that child, you say, "I'm going to talk to my parents about it." Yeah. See, they don't want a troublemaker, these people in these programs. I speculate. They want someone who's going to be easy to control. And if the kid says, "I'm not allowed to eat this or do that or walk away with strangers," I would tell, and I will tell loud. I'll tell all my friends. I'll go on social media and talk about you. See, now we have social media. I say, "Look, I'm very close to my family." See, they want to try to find people who don't have families or who are depressed or whatever, you know. That's why it's so important to have a good relationship with your child, because they target children that they think that they can exploit in these weird programs that will hurt you, that may hurt you. Better to say no in certain circumstances and to say yes. If you're all that gifted, how is that going to help you in doing these weird things? They can give you extra classwork, but they want you to do these weird tests. Start communicating with your kid. Find out, hey, let me know if they want you to take any special tests or pull you out of class to do something or to get examined. Tell them no, you're not allowed. You have your own doctor. And that my parents say no. We have our own, or religion. Okay, that's little Lavi. He's sneezing. You see him here? It's okay, Lavi. Lavi's my little doggy. It's okay, baby. You're sneezing. You're sneezing. Yeah, you better start communicating with your kid, because they could be. Remember, there was this thing in America called the Franklin cover up. The Franklin cover up. They were taking little children. They go to school, right? And then, without their parents' consent, they were taking the kids and sneaking them out of the school in an underground tunnel, and were doing horrific things against the children. And then they were also sending them to this thing for boys, and they were doing horrific thing to boys. Yeah, they mess with boys too, these weirdos. Yeah, so make sure you're in good communication with your kid. Come on, no, 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 stay here. Stay here, Lavi. Stay here. Good boy. Uh-uh. Good boy. Yeah, yes. I don't want him to jump off the bed. He does that. Go to sleep. Go. Go to sleep. Yeah, yeah, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Yeah, you have to communicate with your children, because they're trying to take the parents' job away from them and have them do horrific things that would traumatize them. And you don't want that. You want that kid to open up to that parent and say, "Hey, mommy or daddy or auntie or whatever, hey, they did this, or they doing this to these kids." I remember also in the first grade, there was a little girl, And she was just wiggling in her seat or something, according to the teacher. She was quiet. The whole class was quiet. Well, this teacher, she was a white lady. Yeah, back in those days in American schools in New York, all this, it seemed like and again, this was a black neighborhood, but most of the teachers were white. Why is this? They don't live in that neighborhood. Why are they getting people from other neighborhoods to teach your kid? They have a different culture or race, but they're controlling and teaching your kids. Are black teachers mostly in white neighborhoods? No. So why do they do that? Because they want to control you in America. They want to control. But but let me get back. The teacher, I remember, he starts yelling at the girl and somehow got a rope and she's yelling at her and tied her to the chair. Stop moving your chair. And then I think she put tape across the girl's mouth. Wickedness, I remember. Wickedness. Yeah, you better be, back in those days, the teachers had the right to abuse your kid, you know? Um, yeah, and the children weren't allowed to speak out or complain. I remember, it was the teachers are always right and it's students wrong, but that is abuse. That is abuse. That's why you have a good open communication with your kids. Let them tell you what's going on in class. Are the teachers abusing the kids? Are they tying them up? Are they putting tape around their mouth? Are they hitting them? What are they doing? You better start finding out because kids kids are being abused. Did you know, like also in America, that they can take your kid out of class and could have them go get a sex change operation, and they're minors. By law, they're not even allowed to give you aspirin in school. So how is that they can take you to a hospital to get a sex change operation? It's also they're getting all these kids, and it's mostly biological boys who want to pretend to be female, and then they're doing all these horrific acts of violence to in schools. You heard about the Catholic place that a tranny, I think it was a teen, who and they planned it and did video planning it and showing it, and then at the end he unalived himself. Why are kids all of a sudden being groomed to act bizarre like this and given these medicine? I think it's warfare. They are they are using our children to do acts of violence against others. I think that's all by design. It's all by design, in my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion. It is a war within, and I think it's sad. People, parents, be so careful about what your child is being exposed to. I think they're getting too exposed to the internet, and it's um, that they're not being conditioned to really socialize. They don't know who they are. They're teaching your kids to not know who they are. If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going, I would say. And you're destined to do what they're programming these kids to do, acts of violence. And the parents are letting them, which is even more sad. Is this happening in Africa? Has this happened to anyone that you know and you live in Africa? Let me know down below. Are you being forced to take certain chemicals or to watch things or do experiments on psychic tests to test your ESP, whatever, or going on trips? And they said, don't let your parents know. Is this happening in Africa as well? This is happening in America. Let us know. Let me know if anybody's being, weird things that happen to you in the military. You could be targeted. Have you been just minding your own business? And then maybe you're talking about something controversial, and then you get targeted, and you hear a little voice in your head saying something, and then you get zapped, and it causes your heart to race. You heard that audible voice, and then you get zapped, and your heart starts racing uncontrollably. And then your eardrums are paining you. And then maybe you get diarrhea for a month. Have these symptoms ever happened to you? As if something remotely interfere with your energy, your body, and chemistry, and caused you harm. Have any of you heard of like implants, something in your leg or something vibrating? Were you ever operated on, then all of a sudden you feel these signals coming from your body, feeling something vibrate in your leg or your arms, or hearing Morse code coming from your ear? Are you being targeted? Are you being worked on? Let me know below. Let me know below. This is, I'm doing this to throw the net out there, so to speak, as a wake-up call and to keep you aware of things, what could be happening to you in your community. I'm seeing videos, as I said earlier, about this so-called gifted program, the GATE program in America, but is it happening in Africa? It's a pretense that you have a lot of wisdom, intelligence, and then they have you do these weird tests. Or maybe you get flashbacks on things. You're watching something on TV, and then it's reminding you of something. It triggers you. Let's start discussing it together. Let's start discussing with one another in the Black community. I'm seeing things online. It started about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. Blacks sharing their experiences with OBEs. OBE stands for out of body experience. Other Blacks who are not discussing publicly about being in the GATE program for gifted and talented children, and some of the weird testing that they had to do. Or let's say you're in the military and weird phenomena happen to you. Let's start exposing these possible criminal things that are being done to certain people. I thank you again. I can't think of anything else here, but I think this is very, very important so that you know what's going on. Don't let these individuals take your children away from you. Develop a close relationship and say, hey, some things are off limits. Do not go away with adults. And don't believe when they say, oh, your mommy said that it's okay to take you away. No, that she did not. I would tell everybody, scream, whatever. Get your kid out of these schools. Get your kids out of these schools that are trying to destroy their thinking. Yeah. So, this is all that I have to share for now. And I have a feeling that things will be opening up. People are putting out their information there so that we become aware of what's going on so we can protect ourselves. And maybe to even, talk to your officials, talk to your leaders about, hey, this is going on, or expose it to the news outlets. See, if everybody speaks out, then they can't hide it anymore. Let's expose those bastards. Let's stop being experimented on. Your life is your business and not anybody else's. So I thank you again. Peace, love, and joy. Until next time, have a spectacular evening out there. Bye bye.